Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the warning lights started flashing red across the command center. He set down his cup and walked quickly to the main console where Lieutenant Amy Carter was staring at her screen with wide eyes. "What do we have, Carter?" Jake asked, looking over her shoulder at the display. "Sir, we're getting a priority transmission from deep space. It's coming from the Galactic Arbitration Council." Amy's voice was tight with concern. "They're using the emergency diplomatic channel." Jake felt his stomach drop. In the 3 years since Earth had made contact with alien civilizations, they had tried to stay out of galactic politics. The human colonies were still small and weak compared to the massive alien empires that controlled most of the galaxy. Getting attention from the Galactic Court was never good news. "Put it through to the main screen," Jake ordered. The transmission crackled to life, showing a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. Its voice was translated by the computer into flat, emotionless English. "This is High Administrator Vex of the Galactic Arbitration Council. By the authority granted to us by the Galactic Charter, we hereby summon the species known as humans to appear before our court system to answer charges of violations against interstellar law." Jake exchanged glances with Amy. This was worse than he had feared. The alien continued speaking. "The charges include unauthorized colonization of star systems designated as Kepler 4I42, Ross 128, and Proxima Centauri b. Additional charges include destruction of property belonging to the Zenthari Mining Corporation, specifically automated mining platforms valued at 2 million galactic credits. The final charge concerns the incident known as the Battle of Kepler Station, resulting in the destruction of 6 galactic peacekeeper vessels." "6 peacekeeper ships?" Amy whispered. "But those were pirates attacking our supply convoy." The transmission wasn't finished. "Earth authorities have 30 standard days to send representatives to Nexus Prime for trial proceedings. Failure to appear will result in your species being declared hostile and subject to total quarantine protocols. This transmission ends." The screen went dark, leaving Jake and Amy staring at each other in the sudden silence of the command center. "Get me Legal Attaché Rodriguez on the line," Jake said after a moment. "And wake up Security Chief Collins. We need to figure out what the hell just happened." 20 minutes later, Lisa Rodriguez arrived at the command center, carrying a thick folder of papers and looking like she hadn't slept in days. Pete Collins followed behind her, still adjusting his uniform jacket. "I've been expecting this," Lisa said without waiting for questions. "I've been monitoring galactic communication channels for weeks. There's been chatter about humans in every corner of the galaxy." "What kind of chatter?" Jake asked. Lisa opened her folder and pulled out several printed reports. "It's not good, Captain. According to these intercepts, we've developed quite a reputation out there. They're calling us the most violent species in known space." Pete Collins raised an eyebrow. "Violent? We've only been in 3 military actions since first contact, and all of them were defensive." "That's the problem," Lisa continued. "Most galactic species don't fight back when they're attacked. They either surrender immediately or rely on the galactic peacekeepers to protect them. When humans fight back and fight back effectively, it scares them." She spread several documents across the table. "Look at these reports. The hegemony battle fleets describe human soldiers who kept fighting even with broken bones and severe injuries. The Aquatic Collective has stories about human merchants who turned into what they call berserkers when pirates tried to steal their cargo. Even peaceful first contact missions have resulted in aliens filing complaints about humans being too aggressive in their friendliness." Jake picked up one of the reports and read it aloud. Human diplomatic representative grabbed Ambassador Kelthane's appendage and shook it vigorously while displaying teeth in what appeared to be a threatening manner. He looked up at the others. "They're talking about a handshake and a smile." "It gets worse," Lisa said. "The Battle of Kepler Station has become legendary. The story being told is that humans destroyed 6 peacekeeper ships without even trying to communicate first." Amy stood up from her console. "That's not what happened at all. Those ships had no identification markings and were using military weapons against civilian transports. We tried to hail them 5 times before engaging. They were attacking our supply convoy." "I know that, and you know that," Lisa replied. but the official Peacekeeper report says they were conducting a routine inspection of suspected contraband when they were attacked without warning by human forces. Pete Collins crossed his arms. Routine inspection with plasma cannons? The point is, Lisa continued, the entire galaxy now thinks humans are unpredictable killers who attack first and ask questions later. And that brings us to the real problem with this trial. She pulled out another document, this one with an official seal from the Galactic Court. I received this through back channels yesterday. The alien judges assigned to our case have unanimously refused to preside over any hearings involving humans unless they are provided with maximum security protection. Protection from what? Jake asked. From us, Lisa answered. They're demanding armored bailiffs, energy shields, and neural disruptor weapons in the courtroom. They're treating us like we're some kind of savage monsters who might attack the judges during the proceedings. The command center fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Finally, Pete spoke up. So let me get this straight. We're being charged with crimes we didn't commit, based on reports that don't tell the whole story, and the judges are so afraid of us that they need military protection just to be in the same room. That's about the size of it, Lisa confirmed. Jake walked over to the main viewport and looked out at the stars. Earth was just a small blue dot in the distance, and beyond that were the human colonies scattered across a dozen star systems. 3 million people depending on him to keep them safe. What happens if we don't go? He asked. Total quarantine, Lisa replied. No trade, no communication, no travel beyond our current systems. And if we try to expand anyway, every species in the galaxy will consider us fair game for attack. And if we do go? Unknown. The galactic legal system is designed for species that submit to authority without question. I'm not sure how they'll handle humans who actually try to defend themselves in court. Jake turned back to face his team. How long do we have to prepare? 30 days to reach Nexus Prime, Lisa answered. The journey will take most of that time, even with our fastest ship. Then we better get started. Jake moved to the communications console. Amy, prep the Defiant for long-range travel. Pete, I want you to review every military action we've taken since first contact. Find out how these stories got so twisted around. Lisa, you're our legal expert. Figure out how to defend our species in a court system designed by aliens who think we're monsters. As his team scattered to their tasks, Jake remained at the viewport, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of alien beings were convinced that humans were dangerous killers who couldn't be trusted. The irony wasn't lost on him. Humans had spent centuries dreaming of meeting aliens and joining a galactic community. Now that dream was turning into a nightmare. But Jake Morrison hadn't become captain of Earth's first deep space station by backing down from impossible situations. If the galaxy wanted to judge humanity, then humanity would have its day in court. And maybe, just maybe, they could prove that being strong enough to fight back didn't make them monsters. It just made them human. 3 weeks later, the Earthship Defiant dropped out of hyperspace near Nexus Prime. Amy Carter sat at the pilot controls, staring at the massive space station that served as the galaxy's center of justice. The station was bigger than any human city, with thousands of docking bays and millions of beings from hundreds of different worlds. Control, this is Earth Vessel Defiant requesting docking permission. Amy spoke into her headset. The response came back immediately, but not from a living being. A mechanical voice answered her. Earth Vessel Defiant, you are directed to Docking Bay 7912. Maintain current speed and follow the automated guide beacons. Do not deviate from the assigned flight path. Jake Morrison frowned as he watched the navigation display. Bay 7912? That's way out on the outer ring. Most ships get assigned to the inner bays. They're keeping us as far away from the main station as possible, Pete Collins observed from his security station. Look at those sensor readings. We've got automated defense platforms tracking us from 6 different angles. Amy guided the ship along the designated route, following a series of flashing lights that led them away from the busy central area of the station. As they got closer to their assigned bay, Jake could see that it was completely isolated from the other docking areas. Large warning signs in dozens of alien languages surrounded their bay. What do those signs say? Jake asked Lisa Rodriguez, who was studying them through her translation device. Quarantine zone. Authorized personnel only. Danger. Potentially hostile species. Lisa's voice was flat with disappointment. They're treating us like we have some kind of disease. The Defiant settled into the docking bay with a soft thump. Through the viewports, they could see the bay was empty except for several large robotic units that immediately began scanning their ship. No alien workers approached them. No ground crew came to help with docking procedures. Incoming transmission, Amy announced. The main screen flickered to life, showing a tall, crystalline being with multiple arms and what appeared to be gemstones growing from its head. The alien's image wavered slightly, indicating it was a hologram rather than a live transmission from the same room. I am Chief Justice Kelleran of the Galactic Arbitration Council, the being said in a melodic voice that the translation system rendered into clear English. I welcome you to Nexus Prime, though I must admit this is the first time I have been required to address defendants through remote holographic transmission. Required? Jake stepped forward. Your Honor, we're here voluntarily to answer the PIAO. Charges against our species. We have no intention of causing any trouble. Chief Justice Kelleran's crystalline features shifted in what might have been surprise. Your reputation precedes you, Captain Morrison. The court has received extensive testimony regarding human military capabilities and psychological profiles. Based on this evidence, we have determined that direct contact with your species presents an unacceptable risk to court personnel. Lisa Rodriguez moved to stand beside Jake. Your Honor, I am Legal Attaché Rodriguez, representing Earth in these proceedings. May I ask what specific testimony has led to these security measures? The alien judge consulted what appeared to be a floating data pad. We have over 200 documented encounters between humans and other galactic species. The pattern is consistent across all reports. Humans demonstrate unpredictable aggressive behavior, refusal to submit to proper authority, and a disturbing tendency to continue fighting even when facing impossible odds. Those reports are taken out of context. Lisa protested. Humans only fight when we're defending ourselves or protecting others. We're actually a very peaceful species when treated with respect. The hegemony battle fleets would disagree. Chief Justice Kelleran replied. Their reports describe human soldiers who continued attacking even with severe injuries that would incapacitate any reasonable being. The Aquatic Collective has filed formal complaints about human merchants who became violent when their cargo was inspected. Pete Collins stepped forward. Your Honor, those weren't inspections. Pirates were trying to steal supplies meant for our colonies. We have sensor records proving those attackers had no legal authority. Nevertheless, the judge continued, the court must take precautions. Our chief bailiff has informed me that special equipment has been acquired specifically for your trial. Another hologram appeared beside the judge. This one showed a massive alien covered in what looked like cybernetic armor. The being stood nearly 8 feet tall, with arms like tree trunks and glowing red eyes. I am Chief Bailiff Thane Greystone, of the Kryn warrior caste, the armored figure announced. My people have served as peacekeepers in this court for over 3 centuries. Never before have we required military-grade powered armor and energy shields to maintain order in a legal proceeding. Jake stared at the heavily armed alien. You're expecting us to attack the court? Humans are unpredictable, Thane replied. Our intelligence reports indicate that your species has evolved on a world filled with predators and natural disasters. This has created aggressive tendencies that manifest without warning. The court will not take chances with the safety of the judges. Amy Carter spoke up from her pilot station. We've been sitting in this docking bay for 20 minutes. Have we shown any aggressive behavior at all? Chief Justice Kelleran's gemstone head tilted slightly. Your current calm demeanor could be deceptive. Many species have reported that humans appear peaceful until suddenly erupting into violence. That's not how it works, Lisa said, frustration creeping into her voice. Humans don't just randomly attack people. We respond to threats and injustice, but we don't start fights for no reason. The Battle of Kepler Station suggests otherwise, the judge replied. According to peacekeeper reports, human forces opened fire without attempting communication, or following proper challenge protocols. Pete Collins pulled out a datapad and held it up. Your Honor, we have complete sensor logs from that engagement. The attacking ships were firing on civilian transports and refused to respond to our hails. We followed standard defensive procedures. The peacekeepers claimed they were conducting a routine cargo inspection, Chief Justice Kalaran said. With plasma cannons? Amy asked incredulously. What kind of inspection requires military-grade weapons? The judge's hologram flickered as he consulted his notes. The peacekeepers state that human cargo vessels often carry contraband weapons and require firm handling. Lisa Rodriguez held up her own datapad. Your Honor, I have manifest for every human cargo ship in that convoy. They were carrying food supplies, medical equipment, and farming tools to our colonies. No weapons of any kind. Then why did the peacekeepers report finding weapons? The judge asked. Because they were lying, Pete said bluntly. They were trying to steal our supplies and got caught doing it. The silence that followed was broken by Chief Bailiff Thane. You see, this is exactly the kind of unpredictable aggression our reports warned about. Humans make wild accusations against respected galactic institutions. They're not wild accusations if they're true, Jake replied. Your Honor, we came here in good faith to answer these charges. All we ask is that you examine the actual evidence rather than relying on biased reports. Chief Justice Kalaran's crystalline features seemed to dim slightly. Captain Morrison, I appreciate your position, but the court must follow established safety protocols. The trial will proceed tomorrow with full security measures in place. You and your delegation will be escorted to the courtroom by armed bailiffs in powered armor. Energy barriers will separate you from the judges at all times. This is ridiculous, Amy muttered from her station. Furthermore, the judge continued, this entire conversation is being broadcast throughout the galaxy as a public safety measure. All species have been warned about the presence of humans on Nexus Prime. Jake felt his heart sink. Not only were they being treated like dangerous criminals, but the entire galaxy was watching them be humiliated. Every word they spoke was being used as evidence of human aggression. Your Honor, Lisa said carefully, is there anything we can do to demonstrate that humans are not the threat you believe us to be? Survive the trial without attacking anyone, Chief Justice Kalaran replied. That alone would be more than most species expect from your kind. The holograms flickered and disappeared, leaving the human delegation alone in their isolated docking bay. Through the viewports, they could see more automated defense systems moving into position around their ship. Pete Collins checked his security readings. We're completely surrounded. They've got enough firepower out there to destroy a battle cruiser. All this for 4 humans with no weapons, Amy said, shaking her head. Jake looked around at his team. Tomorrow they would walk into a courtroom where everyone expected them to be monsters. The judges would be hiding behind energy shields while armored bailiffs stood ready to shoot them down at the first sign of trouble. Get some rest, everyone, Jake said finally. Tomorrow we prove that being human isn't a crime. As his team prepared for what might be the most important day in human history, Jake wondered if they were already doomed before the trial even began. How do you prove you're innocent when everyone believes you're guilty just for existing? The next morning, 6 heavily armored bailiffs arrived at the Defiance docking bay. Each alien stood over 7 feet tall and wore powered armor that hummed with energy. Their faces were hidden behind helmets with glowing visors, and they carried weapons that looked like they could punch holes through starship hulls. Human delegation, you will follow us to the courtroom, announced the lead bailiff through an external speaker. Do not make any sudden movements. Do not reach for anything without permission. Keep your hands visible at all times. Jake Morrison looked at his team. Lisa Rodriguez carried only a briefcase full of legal documents. Amy Carter and Pete Collins were completely unarmed, yet they were being treated like the most dangerous criminals in the galaxy. Understood, Jake replied. We'll cooperate fully. The walk through Nexus Prime's corridors was like a parade of fear. Hundreds of alien beings lined the walls to watch the humans pass, but none came within 50 feet. The bailiffs had cleared. A wide path and automated barriers kept the crowds at a safe distance. Jake could hear whispers in dozens of languages. all translated by his earpiece into words like dangerous, violent, and unpredictable. The courtroom itself was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. It was enormous, with seating for thousands of spectators, but the entire front section had been cleared and surrounded by energy barriers that flickered with blue light. The judges sat behind thick transparent shields on a raised platform that put them 20 feet above the floor. More armored bailiffs stood at every entrance, weapons ready. "This is insane," Amy whispered, as they were escorted to a small enclosed area in the center of the room. "They've built a cage for us." The enclosed area was surrounded by energy barriers on all sides, with only a small opening that sealed shut once they were inside. The humans found themselves standing in what was essentially a transparent box, completely cut off from the rest of the courtroom. Chief Justice Kalaran's voice boomed through speakers. "This court is now in session. We are here to determine the guilt or innocence of the species known as humans in regards to multiple violations of galactic law." The prosecutor stood up at a podium far from the human delegation. It was an aquatic being in a water-filled suit, with tentacles that waved dramatically as it spoke. "Honored judges," the prosecutor began, "I am Advocate Zephrane of the Aquatic Collective. Today I will prove that the species called humans represents a clear and present danger to galactic peace and stability." Zephrane activated a holographic display that showed scenes of destruction. Broken space stations, damaged ships, and debris fields filled the air above the courtroom. "Behold the aftermath of human aggression," the prosecutor continued. "In System Kepler 442, they destroyed 3 automated mining platforms belonging to the peaceful Zenthari Corporation. These platforms were worth millions of credits and were operating under full galactic legal authority." Jake started to speak, but Lisa Rodriguez put a hand on his arm to stop him. She pressed a button on their communication panel. "Objection. Your Honor," Lisa said through the courtroom speakers. "Those mining platforms were poisoning the water supply of our agricultural colonies. We have documented proof of environmental damage. The prosecution will present its full case before the defense responds," Chief Justice Kalaran announced. "Advocate Zephrane, continue." The aquatic prosecutor's tentacles waved with what appeared to be satisfaction. "In System Ross 128, humans established colonies on 3 worlds without proper authorization from the Galactic Administration. When peaceful corporate representatives arrived to negotiate resource-sharing agreements, the humans responded with threats and displays of weapons." Amy Carter leaned over to Pete Collins. "Resource sharing? They wanted to take half our food production in exchange for letting us stay on our own planets." The holographic display changed to show the Battle of Kepler Station. The images were dramatic, showing human ships firing on what looked like peaceful vessels. "And here we see the most disturbing example of human violence," Zephrane continued. 6 galactic peacekeeper vessels were conducting a routine inspection of suspected contraband when they were attacked without warning. The humans destroyed all 6 ships, killing over 200 personnel. The prosecutor paused for effect, letting the horrific images sink in with the watching crowd. "These were not acts of self-defense, honored judges. These were unprovoked attacks by a species that values violence over diplomacy." Chief Justice Kalaran's crystalline head turned toward the human delegation. "The defense may now present its case." Lisa Rodriguez stood up and activated her own holographic display. "Your Honor, the prosecution has presented half-truths and deliberate distortions. The real story is very different." Her display showed the same mining platforms but from a different angle. Instead of simple industrial equipment, they looked like massive machines that were tearing chunks out of the planet's surface. The Zenthari mining platforms were not conducting peaceful operations, Lisa explained. They were strip mining the planet's crust and dumping toxic waste into the groundwater. Our colonies were facing starvation and poisoning. When we asked them to stop, they ignored us completely. The images changed to show test results and environmental data. "We have soil, samples proving that the mining operations made the water undrinkable. We tried diplomatic contact 17 times before taking action to protect our people." Advocate Zephrane's tentacles writhed angrily. The Zenthari had legal mining rights granted by the Galactic Trade Commission. Rights that were issued without informing the human colonies already living there. Lisa shot back. Rights that violated our basic need for clean water and food. She changed her display again, this time showing the colonies in System Ross 128. Instead of the threatening military installations the prosecutor had described, they looked like peaceful farming communities. As for unauthorized colonization, these worlds were listed as unclaimed in all official galactic databases. We checked thoroughly before establishing settlements. Our colonists are farmers and families, not military forces. Chief Justice Kelleran leaned forward, but the prosecution states that you threatened corporate representatives with weapons. Amy Carter requested permission to speak. When it was granted, she stood up and faced the judges. Your Honor, I was the pilot who escorted those corporate representatives to our colony on Ross 128B. They arrived with a fleet of armed ships and demanded that we give them half of everything we produced. When our colonial administrator asked to see their legal authority, they said they didn't need any because humans had no rights under galactic law. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Amy continued. The weapons they're talking about were hunting, rifles that our farmers used to protect their crops from local wildlife. We showed them these weapons after they threatened to take our food by force and let our children starve. Pete Collins stood up next. Your Honor, may I address the Battle of Kepler Station? You may proceed, the judge replied. Pete activated his own data display, showing sensor records from the human ships. This is the complete tactical record of the engagement. At 14:32 station time, our supply convoy was approaching Kepler Station when 6 unidentified vessels emerged from the asteroid field and began firing on our civilian transports. The display showed the attack from the human perspective. The enemy ships had no identification markings and were using military-grade weapons against unarmed cargo vessels. We attempted to hail them 5 times with standard diplomatic protocols, Pete continued. They ignored all communication attempts and continued attacking civilian ships. We followed standard military procedure and engaged to protect innocent lives. But these were galactic peacekeepers, Advocate Zephyrin protested. Then why weren't they marked as such? Pete asked. Why didn't they identify themselves? Why were they attacking civilian ships with military weapons? He brought up another display showing the cargo manifests. Our supply ships were carrying food, medicine, and farming equipment to colonies that were running short on supplies. The peacekeepers claimed they were looking for weapons, but our manifests were filed with galactic authorities weeks in advance. Chief Justice Kelleran studied the data for several long minutes. These records show no weapons in your cargo holds. That's correct, Your Honor, Pete replied. The only weapons were the personal sidearms carried by security personnel, all properly documented and licensed. Lisa Rodriguez stepped forward again. Your Honor, there's a pattern here that the prosecution doesn't want you to see. In every case, humans were defending themselves or their communities against aggression or exploitation. We didn't attack anyone who wasn't threatening us first. She brought up a final display showing human colonies throughout the galaxy. Look at our actual behavior. Human colonies trade peacefully with over 40 different species. We have defense agreements with 12 smaller civilizations who asked for our protection. We've provided humanitarian aid to 6 different worlds hit by natural disasters. Lies and propaganda, Advocate Zephyrin hissed through his translator. Humans are violent by nature. They cannot be trusted. Jake Morrison finally requested permission to speak. When the judge nodded, Jake looked directly at the crystalline being. Your Honor, if humans are so violent and unpredictable, why haven't we attacked anyone in this quarter? The second day of the trial brought even more spectators to the courtroom. Word had spread throughout Nexus Prime that the humans were actually defending themselves rather than simply admitting guilt. Many alien species had never seen anyone challenge the galactic legal system before. Chief Justice Kelleran called the court to order. Today we will hear testimony from witnesses to the alleged human crimes. The prosecution may call its first witness. Advocate Zephyrin activated his communication device. The prosecution calls Administrator Vex of the Zinthari Mining Corporation. A tall, gray-skinned alien materialized in the witness hologram area. It had 6 arms and wore expensive-looking robes covered in glowing symbols. Administrator Vex, the prosecutor began. Please tell the court about your encounter with human colonists in the Kepler 442 system. The Zenthari administrator's voice was smooth and confident. We had fully legal mining rights to that system, granted by the Galactic Trade Commission. Our automated platforms were conducting routine resource extraction when the humans arrived and immediately began making unreasonable demands. What kind of demands? Zephrane asked. They wanted us to stop all mining operations. They claimed our work was somehow harming their illegal colonies. When we explained that their settlements had no legal standing, they became violent and destroyed 3 of our platforms. Lisa Rodriguez stood up in the human enclosure. Your Honor, may I cross-examine this witness? You may proceed, Chief. Justice Kalaran replied. Lisa activated her holographic display, showing official galactic documents. Administrator Vex, when did the Zenthari Corporation apply for mining rights in the Kepler 442 system? The alien administrator shifted uncomfortably. I believe it was approximately 2 years ago. According to these records, it was exactly 18 months ago, Lisa corrected. And when were the human colonies established in that system? I'm not certain of the exact date, Vex replied. The colonies were established 4 years ago, Lisa said, bringing up more documents. So the human settlements existed for over 2 years before your corporation even applied for mining rights. How can you call them illegal when they were there? First, Advocate Zephrane waved his tentacles angrily. The humans never filed proper colonization papers with the Galactic Administration. Because we didn't know we needed to, Amy Carter called out from the human enclosure. No one told us there was a Galactic Administration when we first made contact with alien civilizations. Chief Justice Kalaran leaned forward. Administrator Vex, did your corporation inform the human colonies before beginning mining operations? The Mar? Zenthari Administrator paused for several seconds. We saw no need to communicate with illegal settlers. Lisa brought up environmental data on her display. And these illegal settlers were growing food to feed 3 million people. Food that became poisonous after your mining operations contaminated the water supply. Did you consider that a problem? Our operations were completely legal, Vex insisted. But his confidence was fading. Legal perhaps, but not ethical, Lisa replied. Your Honor, this witness has admitted that his corporation knowingly began operations that would harm existing settlements without even attempting to communicate or find a solution that worked for everyone. The prosecutor quickly called his next witness, but the damage was already done. The pattern was becoming clear to everyone in the courtroom. The next witness was Captain Drylan of the Galactic Peacekeepers, testifying about the Battle of Kepler Station. He appeared as a hologram, wearing an elaborate uniform covered in medals and rank insignia. Captain Drylan, Advocate Zephrane began, please describe the incident that resulted in the destruction of 6 peacekeeper vessels. We received reports of weapons smuggling in the Kepler Station area, Captain Drylan said in a pompous tone. My task force was conducting a routine inspection of suspected vessels when we were attacked without warning by human forces. Pete Collins immediately requested permission to cross-examine. Captain Drylan, you say you were conducting an inspection? Do you have records of attempting to communicate with the human convoy before opening fire? We don't need to communicate with smugglers, the captain replied dismissively. So you opened fire first? Pete asked. Captain Drylan's hologram flickered as he realized his mistake. We were encouraging compliance with inspection procedures. Pete brought up the sensor records from the human ships. These logs show that your vessels fired on civilian transports for over 10 minutes before any human ship returned fire. How is that an inspection? The humans were clearly trying to escape, the captain said weakly. Escape from what? Pete pressed. Your ships had no identification markings. You made no attempt to identify yourselves or state your authority. From our perspective, you were pirates attacking civilian vessels. Chief Justice Kalaran studied the sensor data carefully. Captain Drylan, why were your ships not displaying proper peacekeeper identification? We were conducting a covert operation, the captain admitted. A covert operation against civilian cargo ships? The judge asked, his crystalline features shifting with what might have been surprise. Lisa Rodriguez stood up again. Your Honor, I'd like to call our own witness to explain what was really happening. You may proceed, the judge replied. A new hologram appeared in the witness area. It was a human woman in a simple work uniform, looking nervous but determined. This is Colony Administrator Beth Palmer from Kepler Station, Lisa announced. She was in charge of the supply convoy that was attacked. Beth Palmer looked around the vast courtroom with wide eyes before focusing on the judges. Your Honor, that convoy was carrying emergency medical supplies to 3 of our colonies. We had children dying from a disease outbreak, and those ships held the only medicine that could save them. Her voice grew stronger as she continued. We filed all the proper paperwork with galactic authorities. We sent our cargo manifests weeks in advance. Everything was legal and above board. Advocate Zafrain interrupted. The peacekeepers had intelligence reports about weapons in your cargo. What weapons? Beth asked angrily. We had antibiotics and children's medicine. The peacekeepers wanted to confiscate half our medical supplies as inspection fees. When we refused to let sick children die, they started shooting. The courtroom erupted in whispers and shocked conversations. Chief Justice Kalaran called for order. Mrs. Palmer, the judge said carefully. Are you saying the peacekeepers were attempting to steal medical supplies? They called it regulatory compliance fees, Beth replied. They said humans had to pay extra taxes because we were a new species. Half our medicine for the right to deliver the other half to dying children. Jake Morrison requested permission to speak. Your Honor, this is the real pattern the prosecution doesn't want you to see. Every incident they've described involves humans defending themselves against exploitation or outright theft. He activated his own holographic display, showing communication records. We have documented proof that multiple galactic organizations have been treating human colonies as easy targets. They assume we'll submit to any demands because we're new and weak. The display showed message after message of demands for tribute, threats of seizure, and attempts to claim human resources. The mining corporations want our worlds. The trade guilds want our cargo. The peacekeepers want bribes to leave us alone. When we refuse to be victims, they call us violent. Dr. Helen Baker appeared in the witness area next. She was a middle-aged woman with graying hair and kind eyes. Dr. Baker is Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, Lisa explained. She spent the last 3 years studying how different species interact. Dr. Baker looked directly at the judges. Your Honor, I've reviewed every incident cited in this trial. The pattern is clear. Humans only become aggressive when they perceive threats to their families, communities, or basic values like justice and fairness. She brought up her own research data. Most galactic species operate on collective consciousness or hive mind principles. When faced with superior force, they submit as a group. Humans are different. We're individualistic, but also fiercely protective of our communities. This creates a fundamental misunderstanding in diplomatic encounters. Chief Justice Kelleran leaned forward with interest. Please explain. When other species see humans refuse to submit to authority, they interpret it as random aggression. Dr. Baker continued. But human aggression is never random. It's always defensive and contextual. We fight when we're protecting something we value, not for conquest or cruelty. Advocate Zafrain's tentacles writhed with frustration. This is all speculation and propaganda. Humans are violent by nature. Dr. Baker turned to face the prosecutor. If that were true, Advocate Zafrain, then why have there been no violent incidents in this courtroom? The human delegation has been treated as criminals, surrounded by armed guards, and locked in an energy cage. Yet they've remained perfectly calm and respectful throughout these proceedings. The question hit the courtroom like a thunderbolt. Alien spectators looked around nervously, suddenly realizing that despite all their fears, the humans had done nothing threatening at all. Chief Justice Kalaran's crystalline head tilted as he considered this. Dr. Baker raises an interesting point. If humans are inherently violent, the third day of the trial began with a courtroom that looked completely different. The energy barriers around the human delegation had been lowered during the night. The heavily armored bailiffs now stood at relaxed attention rather than combat readiness. Most surprisingly, the spectator sections were packed with alien beings who no longer looked afraid. Chief Justice Kalaran entered the courtroom with the other judges. His crystalline features seemed brighter somehow, as if the gemstones in his head were glowing with new understanding. "This court has reached its decision," the judge announced. His voice carried clearly through the vast room without need for amplification. "After careful review of all evidence and testimony, we find the charges against the human species to be without merit." The courtroom erupted in cheers from many of the alien spectators. Jake Morrison felt relief wash over him, like a cool wave, but the judge wasn't finished. "Furthermore," Chief Justice Kalaran continued, "this court finds evidence of systematic exploitation and illegal seizure of human property by multiple galactic organizations. The Zenthari Mining Corporation is hereby ordered to pay full compensation for environmental damage to human colonies. The galactic peacekeepers are censured for conducting illegal operations against civilian vessels." Advocate Zephyr's tentacles thrashed wildly in his water suit. "This is outrageous. You cannot punish established galactic institutions based on the word of these violent primitives." The judge's crystalline head turned toward the prosecutor, with what could only be described as anger. "Advocate Zephyr, your own witnesses admitted under oath to illegal activities. The evidence presented by the human delegation has been verified by our own investigators during the recess." Chief Justice Kalaran activated a holographic display that showed dozens of documents and communication records. "Our investigation has revealed a pattern of exploitation targeting not just humans, but 17 other newly contacted species over the past century. The human response was simply the first time anyone fought back effectively." Jake Morrison stepped forward in the now open courtroom. "Your Honor, what does this mean for humanity's place in the galactic community?" "Captain Morrison, it means that humanity has earned respect through trial by fire," the judge replied. "More importantly, it means the galactic community needs to learn from your example." Chief Bailiff Thane Greystone approached the human delegation without his helmet. His scarred face showed genuine respect as he extended a massive hand toward Jake. "Captain Morrison, I owe you an apology," Thane said in his deep voice. "My people judged you based on fear rather than understanding. You have shown honor in the face of injustice. That is something my warrior culture values above all else." Jake shook the alien's hand, surprised by the firm but gentle grip. "No apology needed, Chief Bailiff. You were doing your job protecting the court. I was preparing to fight monsters," Thane replied. "Instead, I found guardians. There is a difference my people understand well." As they spoke, a commotion arose in the spectator sections. Dozens of alien beings were standing up and requesting permission to address the court. Chief Justice Kalaran looked surprised but granted the request. The first to speak was a small furry creature with large eyes and a nervous manner. "Your Honor, I am Ambassador Kelton of the Peaceful Alliance. My people have been subjected to the same kind of exploitation described in this trial. We would like to request human protection for our trade convoys." A second alien stood up, this one tall and thin with blue skin. "I am Representative Vash of the Outer Colony Federation. We have 12 worlds that are being threatened by pirates and corporate raiders. Would the humans consider a mutual defense agreement?" More aliens began standing up throughout the courtroom. Species after species requested human assistance, protection, or alliance. Jake looked around in amazement as the very beings who had feared humans days before now sought their friendship. Chief Justice Kalaran called for order. "It appears that humanity's reputation has undergone a significant transformation. Captain Morrison, how does your government respond to these requests?" Jake looked at his team, then back at the judge. "Your Honor, Earth has always believed in protecting those who cannot protect themselves. We would be honored to discuss mutual defense agreements with any peaceful species." Lisa Rodriguez stepped forward with her briefcase. "Your Honor, I've been working during the recess to draft a framework for what we're calling the Terran Protection Compact. It's based on mutual respect and shared defense rather than submission to superior force." She activated a holographic display showing the proposed agreement structure. "Any species can join the compact by agreeing to 3 simple principles: respect for individual rights, mutual defense against aggression, and peaceful resolution of disputes." What do humans ask in return for protection? Asked Ambassador Kelton. Pete. Collins answered with a smile. Friendship, trade opportunities, cultural exchange. We're not looking to build an empire. We want to build a community. Thane Greystone stepped forward again. The Kryn warrior clans would be honored to join such a compact. We have long sought allies who understand that true strength comes from protecting others, not conquering them. Chief Justice Kelleran nodded approvingly. This court officially recognizes the Terran Protection Compact as a legitimate alliance structure under galactic law. Any species wishing to join may do so freely. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Over 30 different species requested membership in the compact before the court session ended. Representatives formed long lines to speak with the human delegation, offering everything from advanced technology to valuable trade resources. Amy Carter found herself surrounded by alien pilots eager to share stories and techniques. I never thought I'd be giving flying lessons to a crystalline being, she whispered to Pete Collins. Pete was deep in conversation with several alien security chiefs about defensive strategies and protection protocols. They're not warriors like humans, he observed, but they're smart and they learn quickly. With the right training, they could defend themselves. As the day progressed, Jake found himself in an impromptu diplomatic meeting with dozens of alien leaders. The isolation booth that had been their prison was now the center of galactic diplomacy. Captain Morrison, said a reptilian alien with golden scales, my people have mining expertise that could help restore the damaged worlds. In exchange, we ask only that human security forces help protect our deep space operations from pirates. Ambassador Senth, Jake replied. That sounds like exactly the kind of cooperation we hoped for. Lisa Rodriguez was frantically taking notes, as agreement after agreement was proposed and accepted. Jake, we're going to need a much bigger diplomatic staff, she whispered during a brief break. Good problem to have, Jake replied with a grin. As the formal court session ended, Chief Justice Kelleran approached the human delegation personally for the first time. Without the energy barriers between them, Jake could see that the crystalline being was actually quite beautiful, with faceted features that reflected light like a living jewel. Captain Morrison, I must make a personal apology, the judge said. My people pride themselves on wisdom and fairness, yet we allowed fear to cloud our judgment. You have taught us a valuable lesson about the difference between strength and violence. Your Honor, you gave us a fair trial when many wouldn't have, Jake replied. That's all we ever asked for. The judge's crystalline features shifted in what might have been a smile. The galaxy is about to change, Captain. For too long it has been dominated by those who exploit the weak. Now it will be protected by those who defend them. That evening, as the Defiant prepared to depart Nexus Prime, the human crew found their cargo hold filled with gifts, trade agreements, and cultural exchange proposals. Their isolated docking bay was now surrounded by well-wishers and new allies. Amy. Carter initiated the departure sequence while monitoring dozens of escort ships from their new alliance partners. Control, this is Earth Vessel Defiant requesting departure clearance. Defiant, you are cleared for immediate departure, came the response. Safe travels, and welcome to the galactic community. As they pulled away from Nexus Prime, Jake looked out at the stars with new understanding. Humanity had found its place among them not through conquest or submission, but by being exactly what they had always been, fierce protectors of those they chose to defend. Where to now, Captain? Amy asked as they jumped to hyperspace. Home first, Jake replied. We have a lot of people to tell about humanity's new job as guardians of the galaxy. The stars streaked past their viewports as the Defiant carried news of humanity's transformation from feared monsters to beloved protectors. Behind them, 37 species began preparing for a new age of mutual defense and cooperation.